Welcome to this month's edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime, a show connected to Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers and the mission to track down wanted fugitives and help solve some local crimes.
And this month we're going to be focusing on some cold cases in both Okaloosa and Walton counties, including one from Mary Esther that spans back 5 decades. So let's get to it.
Yep, and we're going to start with that one. It's going to be 50 years on October 5th. That Merle Dean Lewis was murdered in his trailer located on Brenda Lane out in Mary Esther. Now, 2 people in a white Chevrolet truck drove up to the trailer sometime between 11 and 11:30 p.m. About 5 minutes later, shots were heard, and then a subject was observed leaving the residence, and then the vehicle sped off at a high rate of speed. Now, the next day, Lewis's body was discovered in the trailer. It appeared he had been shot at relatively close range in the chest. Now, if you take a look, here is an artist's rendering of a suspect that was described by witnesses. Anyone with information, of course, you can contact the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, or of course you can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously. But 50 years, we certainly would like to get some information that would help solve that case.
And we know that's not hopeless because they are having so much more luck now solving these old cold cases. So fingers crossed somebody's got something that will help break this one.
Absolutely.
Next up, Walton County Sheriff's Office is still seeking answers in a teenager's 1997 disappearance. They're continuing to work with the Police Department on the whereabouts of a teen who disappeared back on August 15th, 1997. Kimberly Raymer was 17 when she went missing from her Alabama home where her father lived. Her car was parked outside and her purse, keys, and wallet were found in her room along with all of the shoes she owned. There were also signs of a possible struggle in her bedroom. Now, at the time of her disappearance, Kimberly was a 5'4" white female with brown hair, brown eyes, and she weighed 130 pounds, and she would be in her early 40s today. Anybody with any information about that disappearance can call Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously. Don't forget that. You never have to give your name. 863-TIPS is the number. You can also visit us online at www.emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com, or of course the p3tips.com, or you can download the P3Tips mobile app.
That's right, and we do have an age progression photo there of Kimberly, so take a look at that. Anybody with information, give us a call. Next up, a 2004 homicide is still being investigated by Walton County deputies. Back on August 16th of that year, the remains of 25-year-old Manuel Mosqueda Ruiz were found on the edge of Magnolia Lodge Road in Freeport. An autopsy revealed he had been shot. Now, investigators are still searching for information that might help solve his murder. Anyone with information, contact, of course, the Walton County Sheriff's Office or Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
Moving now to another cold case, but this one is with the Crestview Police Department. On September 11th, 1988, George Henry Jones was found murdered in his Crestview home, and the Crestview Police Department is still asking for information which might help solve this case. Jones was dropped off at his home by a church van the evening of 9/11/88 after attending a church service. A physical altercation took place in the residence, and Jones was found bludgeoned to death. So anybody with any information, please contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. And remember, you can stay anonymous and get a cash reward if your information helps lead to an arrest.
That's right, and I do want to provide an update. On our last show, we talked about our cold case cards that we had distributed in the jails, and we actually have the board of directors for Crime Stoppers has approved printing 1,000 more decks that we are going to make available for purchase to the public. So as soon as that becomes available, we will certainly let you know. And with that, we want to talk about some of the successes we've had in the last couple of months here at Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. That's July and August of this year. We had 202 tips that we received, resulted in 7 arrests, which helped solve 11 cases for local law enforcement agencies. We approved almost $6,000 in rewards, and we had a tip that helped us locate a fugitive that had been wanted by the Crestview Police Department for burglary with assault as well as cruelty toward a child. And we want to give a shout out to Santa Rosa County Crime Stoppers that worked with us kind of in a very timely manner to help put that guy behind bars. So.
And keep in mind, your cash reward can be up to $3,000 depending on the magnitude of the case. So obviously for some of these homicides or disappearances that could be homicides, the cash reward goes up depending on the magnitude. Absolutely.
That's right.
Now, we wanted to send out a reminder to everyone that the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office has a free smartphone app, and it's available through the App Store and Google Play. All you have to do is search Okaloosa County Sheriff, and it's going to give you some quick and easy access to tons of features, ranging from aqua alerts to recent arrests.
It also allows us to go in there and look up a lot of citizens want to know who's wanted, and it gives us a section you can go to for warrants. They can look up people for warrants or sex offenders, recent arrests. You can see mug shots. I know that's always on people's bucket list that they want to look at the most recent arrests. And also the jail, or excuse me, they can look at other resources that we have. Unsolved crimes, that's something that is always of interest of our citizens. And crime prevention, all of our different programs. It's just truly a one-stop shop. All you have to do is download the app. We'd encourage you, all of you that follow us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, we have a huge following.
And now, as always, we're going to start with a list of wanted folks that we're hoping maybe you can help us locate. And they are wanted as of today's taping date, September 29th, 2023. So let's get started. First up, we've got a new face. That's 28-year-old Christopher Lee Watson II. He's wanted for felony sexual assault and use of a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony.
And this is Michael Stephen Livingston. He's wanted for felony burglary with assault or battery and resisting arrest without violence. Livingston was last known to live on Highway 602 in Laurel Hill.
Timothy Tyler Turner, who's 31, last known to live on Red Barrow Road up in Baker. He's wanted for felony, sexual battery, and lewd and lascivious molestation.
Next up, Stephen Alexander Jameson. He's 21 years old. He's wanted for felony order revoking bond for sexual assault and child abuse. He was last known to live on Indian Trail in Crestview.
39-year-old Clint Wayne Covey is wanted for felony failure to appear for 2 counts of battery on an officer or firefighter.
34-year-old Ann Margaret Mary Marsh is wanted for failure to appear as well for theft and elderly abuse. Her last known address was on Madeline's Path in Fort Walton Beach.
And some good news, we have located Jiron Michael McCoy since our last show.
Still looking for Oswaldo Avalos Camacho, 24 years old, wanted for felony failure to appear for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, last known to live on Williams Court in Fort Walton Beach.
Another new addition this month is 36-year-old Clarence Lee Robbins. He's wanted for felony battery on an officer, firefighter, or EMT, as well as aggravated battery, last known to live on Applin Road in Crestview.
And this next individual's last known address was in Defuniak Springs on Jonquil Avenue. It's 39-year-old Paul Robert Douglas Howell. He's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony burglary and grand theft.
And back to Okaloosa County, it's 37-year-old Casey Scott Dishmond. He's wanted for felony failure to appear, for resisting arrest without violence, possession of a controlled substance with intent to sell, as well as other narcotics charges, last known to live in Destin.
Donald Joe Mitchell's last known address was in Navarre. He's 71 years old and he's wanted for DUI and driving with his license suspended or revoked.
Next individual is wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of child neglect. That's 53-year-old Tad Keith Bowers.
Niceville PD is trying to locate Justin Eugene Lyons. He's wanted for felony violation of probation and was last known to live on Red Barrow Road in Baker.
And some more good news, that is Clifton Ray Edward has also been located since our last show.
Here's a crime we don't see all the time. Zachary Lee Dalton, he's wanted for arson.
Next up is Christian Devontae Nix. He's 23 years old. He's wanted for felony failure to appear for fleeing and eluding law enforcement, operating a vehicle without a license, as well as destroying evidence. He was last known to live on 4th Avenue in Shalimar.
And contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you have any info on Brennan Shane Dickinson. He's wanted for felony possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon, burglary, larceny, as well as violation of probation, last known to live on Harmony Lane in Crestview.
52-year-old Angela Dawn Tripp, who was last known to live on Crown Creek Circle up in Crestview, she's wanted for failure to appear for exploitation of the elderly.
Next up is Dara Suzanne Giancola, 66 years old, wanted for felony failure to appear for leaving the scene of an accident with DUI with injury or property damage, bribery of a public official, and resisting arrest without violence, last known to live on Hunt Club Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Last on our first list is 32-year-old Anthony Michael Frodely. He's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker, last known to live over in Fort Walton Beach. Well, Sheriff Eric Aden and Chief Deputy Ken Lepee welcomed home the first crew of OCSO volunteers who've been working sometimes 14 hours a day to help the Suwannee County Sheriff's Office with its Hurricane Idalia response.
Another OCSO crew was on the road back home about the time that the first people were heading, or the second group, I mean, was heading out. So there was lots of long hours, lots of hard work going on with the team OCSO helping out in Suwannee County. But they said they were more than happy to help their fellow Floridians that were suffering from the aftermath.
So what's it like to work in law enforcement? Well, every day is so different, so that's not always an easy question to answer.
Well, sometimes we like to put together some body cam video to at least give you a clue. Take a look.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Show me your hand! It was two people in the vehicle. They said that there's not supposed to be anybody else in it. Hey guys, how we doing?
Anything on you, man? It's gonna poke or hurt you or what?
Let me see those hands. How's it going? Good.
Am I not supposed to do that? They told me I could.
No, you cannot have this on a state roadway.
Boy. Where's your good boy? What?
Come up on your left. Back off, back off, back off, back off, back off.
216, I'm out with the boat, that boat.
The boat that is taking on water.
And now we're going to go down our second list of wanted fugitives. Remember, we give you 3 simple, secure ways to contact Crime Stoppers. You can call us 863-TIPS, visit EmeraldCoastCrimeStoppers.com, or of course use the P3TIPS mobile app, all anonymous. First up is 32-year-old Brandon Dalton West, who we don't have a photo of, but he is wanted for sexual assault.
Sean Evan Ethier, wanted for felony lewd and lascivious behavior and non-payment of child support.
Here's one that's been on the show for a while. That's 31-year-old Alyssa Victoria Hibberts. She's wanted for violation of probation for child neglect as well as possession of cocaine, last known to live over in Pensacola.
J. William Shutter is 80 years old, but he is on our list because he's wanted for felony child neglect.
34-year-old Jose Alberto Hernandez Cruz is wanted for failure to appear for DUI, as well as 2 counts of child neglect, last known to live on Airport Road in Destin.
And Cheyenne Lee Gentry used to live in Crestview on Oak Terrace Drive, and she's wanted for VOP for possession of methamphetamine.
Here's another one with an address over in Pensacola. That's 64-year-old James Clinton Brinkley Jr. He's wanted for violation of probation for battery.
Justin Rafael Diaz up next, wanted for felony possession of meth with intent to sell and possession of heroin. Diaz's last known address was in Destin.
And we don't have a photo of Kelvin Paul Michael Wise, but he's a 45-year-old white male, and he's wanted for sexual battery.
And this is Zachary Ryan Steen. Steen's wanted for felony aggravated battery with a weapon, last known to live on Old Ferry Road in Shalimar.
38-year-old Joseph Lee Fairchild is wanted for violation of probation for aggravated assault.
David Allen Bobbitt's been on here for a while. He's 47 years old, and Bobbitt is wanted for fraud. So give us a call if you have any information on where he is located. Thomas Edward Allison, wanted for FTA, failure to appear for aggravated assault on a person 65 or older. He's 65 years old, and he was last known to live in Destin.
This next individual is wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender. That's 65-year-old Tobin Dean Collins, who was last known to live on Yacht Club Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And this is 39-year-old Daniel Robert Turner O'Rourke. O'Rourke's wanted for felony failure to appear for grand theft and criminal mischief. He was last known to live in Crestview.
And Okaloosa deputies are searching for a 40-year-old Coretta LaDawn James. She's wanted for failure to appear for grand theft and fraud, last known to live on Wilson Street in Crestview.
And now we're wrapping up this second round with Kendall James Watkins. Watkins is wanted for felony VOP for grand theft, burglary, criminal mischief, and credit card fraud.
Well, a panel of former OCSO sworn and civilian employees took time out to share what they've learned and some guidance for transitioning into retirement after a life of service in law enforcement.
Well, Sheriff Eric Aiden said that his goal is to help current employees avoid the pitfalls and to also garner tips for success by learning from the experience of others who have helped shape Team OCSO history.
A lot of people have anxiety about retiring, and it can be a really good blessing. I mean, there's nothing more solvent than the Florida retirement system, and if those of you that stay in it, it also allowed some of those individuals that might be thinking about doing something different. Maybe it helped us retain them by saying, hey, you know, you stay here and this could pay dividends if you choose to stay with this career for long term. So it's a win-win. It was good to see our brothers and sisters that we worked with for so long that we may have looked up to, that they were our supervisors, and it was kind of cool reunion. And it was good for those that are certainly starting to consider the benefits of retirement down the road, as to see what this offered, and this panel, I think, was something we're going to bring back. It was certainly a great opportunity for our staff.
How important is it for people to stay active after they retire?
That's very, very important. Very important. That's number one priority. Don't go home. Don't just sit around. Don't find something to do.
Or y'all's physical year starts 1 October. The state of Florida is 1 July. So if you want to retire and you want to cash out your leave and get the max benefit, you have to get paid in that last paycheck the month prior and retire on 1 July or before 1 July.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I actually learned to enjoy by volunteering somewhere. I can go volunteer. I can, you know, like Mike said, you can show up, you can do what you got to do, and you don't have to be in charge. Now, it's hard to get used to. It's hard not to take charge and be in charge, but at the same time, I've gotten used to not being in charge, and it's pretty darn nice.
Hopefully it lets them know that we care about them, that we're family, and that we care about them even when they go on to greener pastures such as retirement and can enjoy those salad years. They work hard here. They work in an area that they're not paid extremely high, and so that you know, it gives them the opportunity to look forward to something and let them realize that, hey, we care about them and we want them to be able to make the most of those years when they do retire.
And as always, we've got more fugitives that are on the run we're hoping you can help us locate. We're going to start our next list with 38-year-old Michael Edward Leahy. He's wanted for felony hit and run with injuries, last known to live on Dune Lake Circle in Santa Rosa Beach.
David Richard Abbott's last known address was in Fort Walton Beach. He's wanted for felony failure to appear for resisting arrest without violence and possession of a controlled substance.
And we've added 42-year-old Lakita Justina Carter this month. She's wanted for 2 counts of felony fleeing and eluding law enforcement, as well as driving while license suspended or revoked, last known to live on Hardy Lane in Fort Walton Beach.
And here's a photo of Leon Leslie Chandler. Chandler's wanted for VOP, driving with a license suspended or revoked, and possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon. Chandler's last known address, Ashley Lane in Fort Walton Beach.
And we don't have a photo of Timothy Tyler Turner, but he's a 30-year-old white male. He's wanted for sexual battery and lewd and lascivious molestation, last known to live on Red Barrel Road in Baker.
Next up, Rayan Valenzuela Castillo, 27-year-old white male, wanted for failure to appear for lewd behavior with a victim between the ages of 12 and 14. Castillo's last known address was on Tyner Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And the Niceville Police Department is looking for Michelle Alicia Fortson for felony grand theft, as well as passing forged checks.
Carson Ray Allen, she's wanted for felony VOP for battery on a law enforcement officer or firefighter. Allen was known to live on Harbor Boulevard in Destin.
37-year-old Blake Elliott Gundred, he's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker.
Now, we've been saying this name for a long time, Anjali Rochelle Johnson, but no more after this show because that person has been located.
Yeah, always good when we find a long timer.
Yes.
Next up is 46-year-old Timothy Ryan McDonald. He's wanted for felony violation of probation for burglary and theft, last known to live on Oxford Court over in Mary Esther.
And here's a Crestview PD case. It involves Tasha Nicole Harris. She's wanted for felony intimidation, sending a written threat, last known to live on Connor Drive in Crestview.
Here's another one we don't have a photo for, but she's Christine Chadwick. She's 59 years old, wanted for cruelty to animal and resisting arrest without violence.
Moving on to Aja Marie Nathan. She's wanted for failure to appear for vehicle theft. Nathan's last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
59-year-old Terry James Hennesser is wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender.
And wrapping up this list is Christian Travis Pritchard. We do not have a picture available of Pritchard, but he's a 31-year-old white male, and he's wanted for felony aggravated battery and false imprisonment.
Well, we had our first Cruisers and Cops car show, and it was a huge success. Big thanks to Deputies Shelby, Burry, and Mark Kane for all their hard work. Also, kudos to the Explorers for coming out and helping out a ton.
And there was also a pretty big turnout with 68 cars registered, but there were a few that probably didn't register, so there's probably closer to about 70 vehicles that were in that show. Plus the Crestview PD, Eglin Range Patrol, the Department of Corrections, and the Crestview Fire Department all played a role. They brought vehicles to show off, and the Crestview Fire Department even had their blow-up smokehouse for kids to go through, so we've got some images of that to share with you. So that was actually a pretty cool event. We're going to move on now, though, with our last list of fugitives that we're looking for as of this taping date. And up on 58 is Mary Elizabeth Gibson. She is wanted for VOP for leaving the scene of a crash with injuries, last known to live on Silva Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Next up is 67-year-old Virginia Lee Coles. She's new to the show. She's wanted for felony battery on a person 65 years or older, and she was last known to live on Edgewater Drive up in Crestview.
And number 60 on the list is Eric Markel Clyburn. He's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office, and that's for felony failure to appear. Clyburn's last known address was in Santa Rosa Beach.
And Okaloosa deputies are still looking for 64-year-old Felipe Carrera Gonzalez Sr. He's being sought for felony failure to appear for battery as well as non-payment of child support, last known to live on Earl Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And this is Timothy James Howard. Howard's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer and recovery of stolen property. Resisting an officer in recovery of stolen property, that is, and failure to appear, fraud. Last known address was Bearhead Road in Defuniak Springs.
And we don't have a photo of James Lee Burnett, but he's a 70-year-old black male. He's wanted for felony failure to appear for aggravated battery, last known to live on Hollywood Boulevard in Fort Walton Beach.
I think this is another new addition, Lillian Nevels Carnes. She's 50 years old. She's wanted by the Crestview Police Department for felony fraud. Carnes' last known address was on Beach Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
54-year-old George Monroe Emmerich II. He's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
And when Emmerich and this next person are arrested, we're going to celebrate because they've been on this list a long time and wanted for some pretty serious crimes. Alexis Wilmer Mondragon is wanted by the OCSO, and those charges are sexual battery, sexual offense against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation, last known to live on Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
29-year-old Daniel Lewis Davis, who was last known to live in Crestview, he's wanted for violation of probation for burglary.
Roderick James Rutterson Jr. is wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school and failure to appear for a charge of driving with his license suspended or revoked, that is. Rutterson was last known to live on Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach.
35-year-old Samuel Edward Thomas III, he's wanted for violation of probation on the original charges of providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft.
And this one's shortened to the point. It's Kristen Marie Chandler. She's wanted for failure to appear for fleeing and eluding.
And Walton County deputies are searching for 45-year-old James Anthony Williams for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
And this is Tony Wayne Poland. He's 54 years old, and he's wanted for failure to appear for criminal mischief, burglary, and theft. Poland was last known to live in Freeport.
Last but certainly not least is 27-year-old Cole Rutledge Graninger. He's wanted for violation of probation for aggravated stalking as well as burglary.
And going back to those stats on the success of Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, just want to give a shout out to all the people out there. A lot of folks calling in obviously take advantage of this program, which does a lot to make our community safer. So we really want to send a shout out to all those people that are getting involved in sending in those tips. They really do make a difference. You can tell from those stats, clearing cases, and the amount of rewards going out, almost $6,000 in 2 months. That's pretty significant amount.
Yep, keep those tips coming.
Okay, and that's going to do it for this edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.